Hello, aspiring hunters. Welcome to the Hunter Experience. What if Kurapika participated in the battle against the Chimera ants? Could that change the outcome of the fight? You're about to find out today. If you're prepared for the incredible hunter journey, click like and subscribe to the channel to join our troop. Don't forget to comment on who your favorite character is in Hunter x Hunter. Now, let's continue with this incredible story. Guys, Kurapika has always been an intriguing character in the world of Hunter x Hunter, mainly due to the complexity of his motivations. When we think of him, the first thing that comes to mind is his relentless quest for revenge against the Phantom Troop, responsible for the destruction of his Kurta clan. This obsession is a crucial driving force for him, and I believe that if he had to face Meruem and the Chimera ants, this motivation could intensify even further. After all, the Chimera Ant King wouldn't just be a threat to Kurapika and his friends, he would represent a monstrous entity, the kind of being that could make Kurapika's mission even more personal and perhaps dangerous. Of course, this doesn't mean that Kurapika would be driven solely by vengeance. He also has a deep sense of loyalty to his friends and team, something we've seen throughout the story. Kurapika is, without a doubt, one of the most skilled figures in Hunter x Hunter, with abilities that make him a formidable opponent. His use of the Kurta eyes is a rare asset, granting him tremendous advantages. When his eyes turn scarlet, he gains a range of enhanced powers, including increased physical strength and more potent Nen abilities. His Chain Master power is another crucial part of his arsenal. Kurapika can create Nen chains with specific properties, such as the Chain Jail, which can imprison enemies or use them strategically to inflict direct damage. With these abilities, he can attack in ways that are difficult to predict, a crucial advantage against enemies with exceptional Nen skills like the Chimera ants. However, Kurapika wouldn't be the only fighter in the battle against the Chimera ants. Gon and Killua have vastly different combat styles. Gon, with his raw energy and moments of insane strength, is a straightforward, action-oriented character, always ready to attack when the situation calls for. Killua, on the other hand, has a more calculated approach, using his speed and assassin skills to surprise and strike with precision. The question here is how Kurapika would adapt to a team with such contrasting approaches, given his more cautious and strategic style. Perhaps the greatest challenge Kurapika would face in a battle against the Chimera ants would be balancing his strategic approach with the more impulsive styles of Gon and Killua. Kurapika isn't someone who rushes into a fight without considering the consequences. He analyzes every move, studies his enemies, and acts only when he has a clear strategy. But in a fast-paced combat environment where enemies have terrifying abilities, he would have to adapt his fighting style, perhaps sacrificing some of his usual precautions to keep up with Gon and Killua, who charge forward without overthinking. Kurapika's greatest advantage in this kind of confrontation would be his tactical intelligence. He wouldn't face Meruem, as their power levels are vastly different, but he also wouldn't confront any of the Chimera ants without knowing exactly how to deal with them. However, his ability to use Nen intelligently raises an important question. Kurapika's Nen is specialized in control. He uses chains to restrain and control his enemies, but against beings like Meruem, who are incredibly powerful, these methods might not suffice. Kurapika might have to adapt and devise new ways to use his chains. He could create new chains with properties more effective against such absurd levels of power. At the same time, he would have to stay vigilant about the Chimera ants' enormous strategic advantages in terms of physical strength, endurance, and Nen power. Take Neferpitou, for example, one of the series' most powerful creatures with exceptional Nen abilities. She can heal and manipulate Nen in incredible ways. Kurapika would need to be extremely strategic to deal with her, as his Nen chains might not be enough to defeat her in a direct confrontation. His ability to work with other team members would be crucial. Killua and Gon, with their complementary skills, could provide great support in chaotic combat situations. Kurapika, in turn, would have to be the brains of the operation, planning each move with precision. When considering the consequences of Kurapika's Nen chains, it's impossible to ignore the high cost he pays for using them. The chains, while powerful, consume his energy rapidly, meaning he wouldn't be able to maintain the pace of combat for long without exhausting himself. This would be even more complicated in a fight against the Chimera ants, who are not only physically overwhelming, but also possess impressive Nen abilities. Each of Kurapika's moves would have to be carefully calculated, as the risk of failure is high and the consequences of that failure could be disastrous, not just for him, but for his friends as well. Kurapika is a strategist, and his Nen chains are his main weapons, but he's not someone who charges into combat without a plan. On the other hand, Gon attacks with all he's got, often disregarding risks. He's impulsive, often letting his heart guide him, rather than reason. Killua, meanwhile, has a more calculated approach, but can be extremely agile and fierce when the situation demands it. Their abilities could complement each other well in a fight, but this also raises the risk of misunderstandings during battle. I imagine Kurapika's greatest challenge would be balancing his cautious approach with Gon's impulsiveness and Killua's cold, precise nature. During battle, he would need patience to deal with Gon's straightforward, sometimes reckless combat style, while also capitalizing on Killua's agility and reflexes, which could be decisive in targeting the enemy's weak points. It would be a constant struggle to give others room to act, while controlling the situation to prevent them from doing something rash. Perhaps this dynamic of friendship would become the most critical factor for success or failure in the fight against the Chimera Ants. As for the battle itself, the impact on the story would be profound. If Kurapika had been alongside Gon and Killua during the war against the Chimera Ants, it could have significantly altered the course of events. Kurapika's presence could bring a new dimension to the fight, possibly even forcing Meruem to reconsider his strategies. Kurapika's intelligence could perhaps create an opening in the Chimera Ant King's defenses. With his focus on tactics and strategies, he might have the ability to see angles that other characters like Gon or Killua wouldn't be able to perceive. But at the same time, this would bring its own challenges. Kurapika is not a fighter who throws everything into the heat of the moment. He needs time to analyze and assess the situation, something that would be hard to achieve in an environment where the enemies are so powerful and fast. This could often mean he'd have to rely on his friends to cover his weaknesses. The fight against the Chimera Ants wouldn't just be a straightforward battle of strength, it would be a matter of planning and executing well-orchestrated strategies. And this could mean Kurapika would have to make significant sacrifices. Speaking of sacrifices, the most interesting aspect of the fight against the Chimera Ants would be how Kurapika handles that. Throughout his journey, he has shown that he's willing to push himself to the limit to achieve his goals, whether it's avenging his clan or protecting his friends. Perhaps instead of sacrificing his own life or health, Kurapika would choose to use his abilities more intelligently, managing his nen chains more effectively, and avoiding excessive exhaustion. We know he aims to protect his friends, but we also know he deeply values his own life, as his survival represents the continuation of his quest for the truth about his clan. For this reason, he might adopt a more calculated approach, avoiding fighting to the point of complete depletion. If the confrontation between Kurapika, Gon, Killua, and the Chimera Ants had indeed played out this way, the impact on the story would have been massive. Kurapika could have been the key element in Netero's defeat of Meruem, or at least in creating a crack in the king's invincibility. However, what would truly stand out is that he would need not only his own abilities, but also the help of his friends. He would need unity, a teamwork dynamic where each member contributes uniquely with their skills. Perhaps Kurapika's greatest sacrifice would be opening himself up to the idea of working alongside Gon and Killua instead of solely pursuing his own agenda. This in itself would be a major challenge, as Kurapika has a tendency to fight alone, trying to solve everything by himself. But alongside his friends, he might find a way to defeat Meruem in a way none of them could achieve alone. What do you think about this? Share your thoughts in the comments. Hunters, that was our video for today. Leave a like if you enjoyed our video, subscribe to the channel as it is still very new, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then.